is your host, Benjamin Saxton, and welcome to a Fighter's Chance podcast, where we give people in the combat sports world an opportunity to talk about the things worth fighting for. Today's guest needs no introduction, but he deserves one. The founder of Z's Martial Arts Academy, training in martial arts for nearly 40 years, received his 6th degree honorary Grandmaster Black Belt, inducted into the International Kickboxing Hall of Fame as a promoter and trainer, trained over 20 PKC amateur U.S. champions, 25 IKF U.S. champions, professional side 2 world champions, 1 intercontinental champion, 3 United States champions, United States head coach, and president of WACO Team USA Kickboxing. Today's guest, Rob Zbilski. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. I appreciate you reaching out to me.
Yeah, I'm very excited for the conversation today. Just, I think your wealth of knowledge, if we were to talk about your career, like from start to finish, we'd be talking for months. But today I want to just talk about, 2 segments of your career so far. One, how you've developed the skill set that you've had. I mean, in the introduction, the amount of black belts, the honorary grandmaster, like how you got to that level, who you trained with, what experiences have you had, and then transitioning to your professional side, because kickboxing and your name kind of go hand in hand in the United States. So the amount of talent that you've been able to train, and not just the talent, but the ability to produce, like have your fighters be able to produce at such a high level and achieve such a high level, I think is remarkable. So let's kind of start out with your previous experience of just gaining that martial arts knowledge.
Okay. Well, I started martial arts back in 1982. I was fortunate enough to meet a gentleman that was in college with me, and he was there in the GI Bill. He was about 9 years older than I was. He trained in Okinawa, and he was a professional kickboxer. He was undefeated, and he had a really diverse background. He studied judo. He studied 2 or 3 different Okinawan martial arts, and then he had the boxing and kickboxing knowledge. So he was almost like a mixed martial artist back then, and that's what kind of attracted to me, because I enjoyed boxing and kickboxing because of the reality of it, of the training. Sometimes when you train the martial arts, especially more nowadays, you're punching and kicking air, you're doing forms, you're doing things that might not be practical when you actually have somebody in front of you. And that's the reason why I really developed in the sport of kickboxing. I got to a point where I was sparring people on a regular basis, and I'd go to different, martial art gyms or taekwondo schools or different places, and really had no problem with, black belts. And everybody asked me what belt I was, and I didn't have a belt. I just, trained in kickboxing, but, what I found is that, when I would hit these people hard, they weren't used to it. And as soon as they got hit hard, they would start to cover, or they'd start to cringe. And, then I was able to do what I wanted, with them. So, I enjoyed, learning that kickboxing. And I also felt that it was important to get a black belt then, because every time I'd go spar somebody, like I said, back then, belts really were important. And it was very, very hard to get a black belt back then too. It got commercialized, I think, in the 90s more. But back in the 80s, if you had a black belt, that was pretty prestigious,
When you didn't have a black belt and you were training with these people or sparring with them, and they're like, oh, he doesn't have a black belt, because like you're saying, you needed to have that black belt to have that status, right? And
right.
If you started sparring with someone, they're like, did you shock a lot of people? They're like, okay, this guy's not a black belt. And then all of a sudden,
yeah. I mean, a lot of people thought I was, like a bully or rude, but the thing is that that's the way we trained, Right. I mean, my light contact might be somebody else's hard contact, so even though you're kind of hitting these guys lightly, they weren't used to getting hit like that. The other thing too is, like, I wasn't very fast. I was kind of a big lumbering guy, so the type of fighting that was back then was tournament fighting, was point fighting. I tried to do it. I enjoyed it. But, I'd fight guys that were taller, longer, faster. They'd score a point on me, and I'd be like losing my mind because I couldn't hit them back.
Right.
It was a very hard thing to overcome because, when you hit me, I might have to take a shot or two to get close to you,
Right.
but so then, I enjoyed the kickboxing. Kickboxing started to get bigger. And, my brother was really the person that, really advanced, I thought our sport in Chicago here in Illinois because, he had over, probably 60 fights, between boxing and kickboxing. And, he took it to the highest level. We fought overseas in 1995 in Ukraine, and he lost his fight, but he dropped the guy that he fought, so it was a good fight. We learned a lot. And, like I said, we never shied away from contact, and that's what we enjoyed, and that's the way I taught my students, even in the martial arts, I felt like our martial arts system was, really good. Our karate system was really good because we had contact. You put your hands on, people, you punch, you kick, you strike, your self-defense, everything is hard. When you do your self-defense, you make it as realistic as possible. So, we started out that way. Dave Young was my first instructor, back in college. After that time, I wanted to learn different things. So, I went to a couple of Dan Inosanto camps. He's the gentleman that took over Bruce Lee's system. I worked out with some Wing Chun people. I went to different styles like Kempo, worked out with, different guys in different styles. I actually took my martial arts as like a college degree. I wanted to learn from as many people as I could back then. So I had knowledge of every martial art. I didn't want to be great at every martial art, but I wanted to know what the practicality was of each martial art, because, you could take one martial art your whole life and, if it works in that situation, great. But as soon as something else changes, you have no experience in that other martial art. So for me, I wanted to learn the basics of all the martial arts. So I went in the 90s, I went and trained with the Gracie family. I lived in Las Vegas for about 3 or 4 months and, trained with those guys every day. And, I wanted to learn jujitsu. I went and trained with the Krav Maga guys. I had them come to my school for 9 days. I trained with them, got to learn their basic techniques. And that's what I, wanted to accumulate my martial arts system around, is knowing a lot of different martial art techniques and maybe perfecting the ones that I feel are most practical, because there's a lot of stuff that doesn't work, I feel, in the martial arts. So they might work at a low percentage rate. If you're practicing something that only works 20% of the time, it's not, maybe not worth practicing, but it's good to know it in case it does happen.
And I find that interesting of you just gaining all of the different experience from, martial arts. If you were to say, because you've dabbled in, I'm going to say almost all of them, if not all of them. If you were to say kickboxing, if you took kickboxing away and say, if I was going to dedicate my time into something else, what would you pick?
Well, I think jujitsu is a very great self-defense martial art. And I would have stayed with that if I was younger, I think, at the time. But, I was focused on getting the kickboxing where it is today, as helping get it to Olympic sport, help it become very prominent. And, so I didn't pursue as much of the jiu-jitsu as I would have liked. I think Muay Thai is a devastating art too. If you combine those two together, you pretty much got, you got about 80% of what you need, to defend yourself,
Right.
I think those two arts are very good. And those were probably the two that I would, pursue more of if I was going to do it again. Awesome.
So you were gaining a bunch of different experience. You almost got the college degree in martial arts. And then at what point, you got the black belt, you got the second black belt, as you keep going, at what point was it starting to transition to the promoting the kickboxing and the managing and the training aspect of it?
I mean, that started when I started martial arts.
Okay.
Because I actually had my first fight about 30 days after I started.
Oh,
So,
really?
yeah.
How did that go?
I got dropped, but then I dropped the guy twice after that.
All right.
Basically just fighting on, basically, like it was a street fight. I mean, I knew one kick and I knew like my jab and my cross, and, that's pretty much what I threw, but I wasn't supposed to fight. Someone else was supposed to fight and they didn't show up, and I got talked into going in there. And that's kind of how my kickboxing career started. But after I got out of college, I worked for Dean Witter. I was a stockbroker for 3-4 years. And, I wanted to really open up my own business and do my own thing. So, that's what I did. I, opened up my school, and that's when we started trying to make a name for ourselves. We go to all the tournaments, and we found that the point fighting for us was very difficult because of the way we trained.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't train for one point. We trained to set up techniques, throw combinations, break guys down, knock them out,
Right.
So, so it was a little different. It was difficult for us. But I would say right after we were at a point fighting tournament, and my brother got into a heated fight after he beat this guy. We got thrown out of the Midwest circuit because they blamed us for it, which after everyone realized it wasn't us that did this. The guy came after us, and well, because he was well known and, they babied him, we got blamed for it. But after that, we decided not to come back to point fighting, and we decided kickboxing. And, during that time in the early 90s and throughout the 90s, there wasn't anybody that we didn't challenge or would fight pretty much, and we had a really good group of fighters that fought everywhere. And, if we would have had the internet back then, I think we all would have been like YouTube stars, because
there you go.
Yeah, we were driving around to different cities, on Friday night we'd fight somewhere, and then halfway back on Saturday we'd fight somewhere. And in between we'd be partying, doing whatever, tear up the place and driving back home again. And we had a pretty good crowd that would follow us. One time we fought in Indianapolis, and we had 2 busloads of people that followed us out there.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. We fought in Oklahoma. We had a couple bands that followed us out there, so, like wherever we go. Pardon?
You got your own crowd. You guys show up. Don't worry. We'll sell out the tickets. We got busloads of people coming.
Yeah, and that's how you kind of manage in the fight game, because, if you can move tickets, you have a little more say on who your opponents are, and once I understood that game, we would sell sometimes 300 to 500 tickets. My last fight, I sold I think $12,000 or $14,000 worth of tickets, wow, which very few people do, but we knew that, that's our negotiating stick, to get the right fights, all the time. I mean, we fought everybody, but there's sometimes that when you're building a fighter that you need to get a right fight, to teach them something. And sometimes it's a harder fight. Sometimes it's an easier fight, but
that's a good, let me ask a question on that. So that's a good thing you said. So sometimes it's an easier fight, sometimes it's a harder fight. And obviously you don't want to put your fighter in the, a bad situation, but I also think you're probably looking for ways that they can develop and take, push through, face adversity. So at what level are you comparing an opponent and saying, okay, I think their strengths match up well against their weaknesses, but I also think, maybe it's the opposite, but I still think you can come out on top.
Yeah, I mean, you do that at every fight.
Right.
I mean, I take my fighters, and some of them I'm more serious than others. Some of them I might throw in, not 100% paying attention, even though I should, of, who the opponents are. Or sometimes you fight in tournaments, you got no say. But when you have a say, it's the only sport that you negotiate your opponent. You don't do it in baseball. You don't do it in football. You got a schedule. So when you go to fight somebody, I'm looking out for my fighter.
Mm-hmm.
I would like to have advantages. but I'm not there just to knock somebody out either. You know, I mean, I want a good fight, but I want to make sure that I have, you know, 2 or 3 advantages, maybe height, maybe weight, maybe experience. You know, I got to have a few things that then I got to see how the guy fights and if it's going to be good to develop my fighter,
Right.
you know, and, but it starts, you know, right from the first fight, the first time they fight, you know, we got to make sure that, you know, we get the right opponents. And sometimes you have a choice and sometimes you don't. You know, sometimes you just want to fight. Sometimes there are no fights out there. So sometimes you're taking fights that you might not like, or, you know, you're putting your guys in things that might not be beneficial. But most of the time you're trying to find advantages, you know, before you take a fight. In the tournaments, that's what makes the tournaments so good, is because you have no say. You show up, you fight whoever shows up, you win the tournament, you're the champion, you know, and in our case in Waco, that's how you get on the U.S. team,
Mm-hmm.
you know, is by winning the tournament. And then you get on the team. You know, we don't really play any favorites. You just got to win. You know, we want the best guys.
That's pretty cool. You know, let performance speak for itself, right? You know, so
Yep.
you're going to perform, you're going to be on the team.
Yep. And part of being on the team also is having that discipline and sticking with us too. You know, because a lot of times when we get guys on the team, they get eaten up by other promoters, other promotions, you know, and, you know, they come for us. You know, sometimes we build them up a little bit, take them overseas, you know, we bring them back, and next thing they're signed with someone else.
Right.
So that's kind of hurt our organization as far as building, you know, consistent fighters. We do have a couple, and it's starting to pay off for them right now.
What is that, you know, that time commitment to be a part of that team? What does that look like? Because I could appreciate both sides of it, where, you know, maybe a fighter's seen success and then they start getting promoted, and then you're like, okay, well, I've been a part of this. I feel loyal to this team, but on the other side, you know, now I can actually really make that big leap.
Okay. You know, I think the commitment right now, you know, isn't as much as it will be moving in the future. We just got our Olympic recognition about 1.5 years ago. And, you know, so we're not in the Olympics, but, you know, we're hoping to be an Olympic sport, you know, like, you know, recognized by the USOC. Until that happens, you know, we fight as Team USA, but we fight, you know, within our organization. And, you know, usually the commitment for that is 1 national tournament and then 1 overseas tournament, or 2 overseas tournaments, you know, so it's not tremendous. And I understand that fighters have to continue to fight, you know, to keep their skill level up and to make money. Some of them are pros that, you know, they're doing this for a living. So I'm okay with that. The thing is that they just have to make a commitment to our team on those dates,
right?
You know, and we'll get them on there. Eventually, I'm hoping that we start doing our own promotions and that we sign our own fighters, and they represent our country, and the country gets behind them. They can make a living doing it. And, you know, we're working on that right now. We've got some things ready to happen soon.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I'll look out for that news when that breaks. That's cool. So with your fighters, you know, going in different, it's not just kickboxing though. I mean, you've touched on a lot of different sports, right? I mean, you're the professionals that you have trained and promoted. It hasn't just been kickboxing. You've had mixed martial artists, you've had just boxers. Maybe you could talk a little bit about that transition from, you know, kickboxing to these different, whether it's MMA or boxing, kind of how that's been in bringing in those type of fighters.
Sure. Well, you know, one thing that, you know, I'm proud of is that through our karate system, through our martial arts system, you know, I've actually taught 8 black belts that have their own gyms or have their own schools, you know, so, you know, I've been, you know, I learned very early how to develop talent, you know, and put them in a program for success. It's the same thing we do with our kickboxing. I would say my mixed martial arts, I'm a little behind the curve on that. You know, I don't train it as much as I used to. And, you know, I'm really focused on the kickboxing. But the kickboxing and the boxing are very similar. And, you know, we can transition from one to the other. You just have to know in boxing, you know, it's really about your head movement. your head movement cannot stay in the same spot when you're a boxer. And sometimes kickboxers, because they don't want to get kicked in the head or they don't want to drop their head and get kneed, they stand straight up, and they might use their footwork in order to, for their defense, because their head's not moving, their footwork's moving in and out, and they can keep their head straight. But in boxing, you want to be able to throw a punch and not move your head each time. Each time you punch, your head's in a different spot, and you want to use your footwork. And, so when we have our boxers and kickboxers, sometimes we'll fight Golden Gloves just to work on our boxing or to, emphasize our hands, because back in the 80s and 90s, that's what really helped us win a lot of kickboxing matches, is that all our guys could punch, that all our guys could box. And, so the kicks were just kind of used because that's what the sport was. But we get in there and we throw our hands, Now, the hands are important, but with leg kicks, which is more prominent than it was in the 80s and 90s, you can't sit there and trade punches for kicks, so you've got to, have great kicks, great defense, which is very important. And, then you got to be able to throw your hands. So.
Yeah, I think with when you mix the kicks into it, just the distance, you can really start making that separation where maybe somebody has a longer reach on you. Now that might not be as much of an issue anymore if you
Right.
can really throw those kicks and control that distance.
Yeah, it comes down to every fighter has an advantage. You just have to understand how to use it. I mean,
Right.
Look at Mike Tyson. Mike Tyson was 5'10", fighting in heavyweight division, knocking guys out, And then you have guys like, Klitschko, that's 6'7", that nobody can get near him. I mean, but both those guys understand how to fight to their height and weight,
Right.
And sometimes height can be a disadvantage, and sometimes could be a huge advantage, and sometimes being smaller could be a disadvantage, and sometimes it could be an advantage. You get in on guys, you're fast, cut angles, throw more volume, you might be able to break down the taller guy.
Yeah, it sounds like really just utilizing your own strengths and trying to, put yourself in that best position to succeed ultimately, right? I mean, if you don't know what you do the best at, then it's going to be hard to try to work off of that.
And I would say that's probably my advantage to coaching, because, I look at my fighters and, we drill their heights and their weights. If I got a smaller guy, he'll be moving his head, closing the gap. If I have a taller person, they'll be working on the jab and hitting that guy as they're coming in, and stepping off to the sides, or whatever the drills are, So I try to train the fighters according to, their height and weight and what their strengths are.
That's awesome. You have, we've talked Olympics, and when you talk about like that, and then you talk about, your history of coaching guys that have won world champions and U.S. champions, how much effort goes into preparing them to fight at that big of a stage? Is that, how much does the manager trainer come into play or versus the fighter? Like, those type of guys are good, ready to go, or
it takes a long time.
Yeah.
For example, one of the girls I trained, Amanda Jinsky, we've been working together for 10 years. She won a couple Golden Glove titles here in Chicago. And then she won a couple national tournaments. And we went to the world tournament. The first time we went, she was out in the first round. The second time we went, she was out in the first round, and it's every 2 years. So there's 4 years right there. And then the third time she went, I think she was out in the first round again. And now the fourth time she won the silver medal.
That's awesome.
And I think if we would have had a better fight strategy, I could kind of blame myself a little bit, because, we changed up the way we fought because we thought that would be more effective, but I should have just fought the way we always fight. And, she ended up losing to the world champ who had over 100 fights, but it was a close fight. It's just that, we tried to slow the pace down a little bit, and we tried to kind of steal rounds more than just going and bang like we like to do, because, that's the way I like to train my fighters. I want pressure. I want, I mean, the stuff that we put them through. I mean, they're like ready to, fly out like a cannon and go from the second the round starts to, 5 seconds after it ends. I mean, that's the mentality that I like to have our fighters fight at.
I mean, that's a huge success story by itself. I mean, to go through that much adversity and to just continue at it. I mean,
Yeah.
eventually you could just say, I know I'm good enough to get there, but just screw it. I don't
Yeah.
want to go through it.
Especially when she pays her own way to go there to fight overseas.
That's
I think
awesome.
the first one was in Ireland. I think the second one was in Italy. I think the third one might have been in Ireland. Then the fourth one was in Bosnia. And
Wow.
that was last November. She took the silver, so that was a big accomplishment, and it was a big confidence booster. And it showed that, one, my training, we can train to fight at the highest level. And two, that the perseverance of a fighter will, if they stick with it and they continue to succeed, I mean, and keep pressing and learning and perfecting the techniques that they're being taught, that they can also win.
Yeah, I mean, I think you have an absolute proven track record of helping fighters get to that top level, and it ultimately comes down to what the fighter is striving for and what they can achieve, and you're going to do everything in your power to help them get to that goal. I mean,
Yeah, I can say that, like back in the 90s, I was locked on. I was in my 20s or whatever, 20s, 30s. I put a lot of time. I spent all day in the gym, training people. And then, I had a couple kids, got into some other business ventures, did some other things. And, I've only had a couple fighters the last 10 years or so. This last 2 years or 3 years, we've amped up our game again. I've got a gym of fighters now. We've got people training, and my coaching is getting back to a high level. For a while there, I felt like I got stale. I wasn't motivated, but I had other things going on. I had 3 kids that I was working on making sure that they succeed in life, and I had some investment properties and things that I was putting money into, and just trying different things. But right now, I feel like I'm back on my game. We're training hard, and we're trying to put some of my athletes into the World Games coming up in 2022.
that's awesome. And is there maybe you could talk? You don't have to get into a lot of detail, but the World Games that's 2022. Maybe you talk about qualifying or entries or just high level
Right.
about the World Games for those that don't
Sure.
aren't familiar with it.
So the World Games is kind of like the minor leagues of the Olympics. It's a great atmosphere. I was the coach for Team USA in 2017, one of the coaches, and we fought in Poland. That's where they had the World Games, and there was like the opening ceremonies had, I don't know, 50, 60,000 people. It was really exciting. It's kind of like the Olympics. They do all kinds of different things. The teams walk out. I mean, it was cool. And that's going to be back here in Birmingham in 2022 in July. And I think they're expecting like 4,000 athletes or something like that, 4,600 athletes. And they've got, I think, 30 plus sports that are going to be in it. And I don't know, I'm excited for it because, it's our home country. Every time we fight, it seems like we're fighting overseas. I mean, we're constantly fighting overseas. And we haven't really brought these teams back here. The ones that we have brought, we've beaten.
Okay.
Yeah, but when we go over there, it's tough. It's a lot of the European countries know each other. A lot of them train together and everything. So we need to put the best team that we can together. And, what we're trying to do is we're trying to take either pro athletes or amateur athletes or whatever athlete is the best kickboxer, K1 fighter that we can to represent our country. The qualifications, they were supposed to be in March of this year, but with COVID, that got canceled. So we haven't set the tournament yet. It's looking like it might be at the beginning of the year now because it seems like everything is still going to be shut down. We'll see if they open up schools or whatever. I would like to get this tournament in before the end of the year. So like if something comes up, because what they have to do is they have to win our tournament, and then the winners will have to go to probably Brazil and win the Pan Americans. And if they win the Pan Americans, then they get to go to represent our country in the World Games. It's going to be a very tough situation. Only 6 athletes will be asked to go.
Wow.
So I believe, we have 1, maybe 2 athletes that could make that team, and then, like I said, the rest of them are around the country. We'll see what we come up with. They got to win the tournament. And, and then from there, we'll go to Brazil. They win in Brazil, and then they'll fight in the World Games in 2022. And I believe that's going to be on NBC Sports. That's
a big deal. When's the last time it's been in the U.S.? Has it been in the U.S. before?
No, the World Games has never been in the U.S.
Okay.
So this will be the first time. And I know they're putting a lot of money into it. They're already marketing it a lot, so they were supposed to have it this year, but it got pushed back a year because the Olympics got pushed back a year.
Right.
And the World Games is under the IOC. So
that's really cool. I mean, that's going to be fascinating coming back to the States, see the fighters that you guys gather and represent the country. That's pretty amazing.
Yeah. And those fighters, we're going to look to, like I said, maybe create our own events to where we're bringing in countries from around the world to fight. And, we're doing training camps right now. I have one in about 2 weeks. We've got about 20 fighters coming. It's going to be a camp that they'll never forget. Starting to get out of my game again.
It sounds like you got the fire lit up under your ass. You're ready to go.
Yeah, the fire's lit now. And I'm excited to push these guys to like a level that they've probably never been pushed before. So that's coming up in a couple of weeks, and we'll see what happens. We're training. I mean, we're training every day. Some of my fighters are training twice a day and working in between. I mean, there ain't no gift being given to them. They're ready to earn it.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and that's what you got to do to get on the team.
I think that's great. You got to let your performance speak for itself and put the time and effort into it. That's really exciting. I gotta ask you about switching gears a little bit, but I gotta ask you, Super Cop.
Yep.
You want to talk a little bit about that? That's pretty cool.
Yeah, no, I mean, it was, back, we ran Super Cop from 1997 to like 2012.
Yeah.
We donated, I think, $100,000 to different police charities, most of it to the Cook County Hunter Club. It was a great morale booster for my friends that are police officers. I wish we could do it. The state of Illinois in 2012 made changes and rule changes and made it very difficult for us to do the event the way we wanted to do it. They couldn't get past that. This was a charity event, not a boxing match. And even though we used the boxing rules, amateur boxing rules, the difference was they wanted us to use USA boxing. And, the cops that were fighting, they weren't training hard enough, to be fighting 3 2-minute rounds, with 10-ounce gloves, so we had, 3 1-minute rounds with 18-ounce gloves, this way nobody got hurt. They could go out and throw, some hard punches. And at the end of the day, everybody went home happy,
Well,
and, during that time, I mean, there were some great rivalries. You had the guards, the Cook County, the county guards against the Chicago police. And then we had suburban police coming in and state troopers. And, I mean, it was a really great run. I would love to do it again. It's just that I think it's very difficult, with combat sports here in this state to do anything. So.
Well, I mean, I think that's a testament of your promotion skill, like your promoting skills, because those that don't know that event got very large, right?
Yeah.
I mean, there's some big name sponsorships. I mean,
I mean, there were some really good fighters too that came out of it, and some of those guys actually went out and fought Golden Gloves and won Golden Gloves, and maybe a couple of them actually went pro. And it all started with Super Cop, But the thing was that we'd have 1,500 to 2,000 cops show up one night every year. And, I had my friends tell me it's like Christmas, they get to see all the guys they used to work with and guys from different units, and everybody had a great time, and everybody looked forward to it. And we gave recognition to the fallen officers, and, it was, my grandfather was a police officer, and he was shot. He didn't, he didn't die from that, but he was a captain, and I wanted to give something back to him as well. So I'd like to do it again, but to be honest with you, I mean, it's if we can't do it the way we want to do it, I don't want to do it.
Right.
And trying to work with the state of Illinois is very difficult. And I'll just leave it at that.
Yeah. I think there's quite a few people that might echo that opinion.
Yeah.
Well, is there, Super Cop ended, is there any other organizations or some, things that you want to promote while I have you here? Because I want to give you that opportunity to talk about it. Because ultimately, that's what this is for, is to give you an opportunity to promote whatever
you
want to.
Well, the biggest thing to me, is, the Waco Team USA Kickboxing. And, we could use support, sponsorship. We could use, we got fighters that represent our country, and we fight in different places all over the world. I mean, last year we were in Turkey, we were in Bosnia, I was in Brazil, we were in Italy. The year before that we were in Hungary, Serbia. I mean, it's tough places, and most of the fighters have to raise their own money to go and represent our country. And we are a 501c3, so everything's transparent. Everything, that flows in through the company goes out, that we have. And, so we have to work on, membership, becoming a member. You don't have to be active, but you can, it's only $20 to become a member of Team USA Kickboxing, Waco Team USA Kickboxing. And that $20 helps. We do events that try to bring in some money. We do these camps and seminars and things like that. But, we really could use a big corporate sponsor, to help us out. And, I think these kids that fight would really appreciate it. And I know it's changed the lives for a lot of people. Through the martial arts, it's one of the things I could say after training people for 30 years. I could say I probably had over 100, parents and families come up to me and, thank me for changing the way their kids are, or their adult kids are, both, because, keeping them focused on the sport, keeping them busy, keeping them eating right, keeping them training every day, 5-6 days a week, keeps them out of trouble.
Right.
And if everybody did that, they wouldn't have time to go screw around and loot and do a bunch of stupid stuff.
Well, I will certainly put your information in the description so people can check it out. You have 2 locations, correct?
Well, right now we have one location.
We're
in Huntley, Illinois.
Okay.
We got a good 6,000 foot facility here. And this is where this is also our home office for Team USA Kickboxing. We are working on some things right now. I can't announce it, but hopefully very soon here, and I'll let you know, we could do it again.
Awesome.
Some of the things we're working on come through. It's going to be very beneficial for our organization.
Well, with your promoting skills, I'm sure you will get it off the ground. You will find if you can get cops and firefighters getting sponsored by Coca-Cola, I think you can. You're going to find some good luck.